Alexander B., could you seriously date and marry a woman with multiple young children?
Here we go.
No, I could not. But first of all, multiple sounds like multiple. It doesn't sound like one or two. It sounds like at least three. Is that a fair assumption, fellas? Multiple sounds like at least three.
That's the assumption I made.
So if there are multiple young, no, for multiple reasons. One, I myself want to have multiple children. So if I'm with a woman that already has multiple children, I got a decent job, but I'm not the CEO of Microsoft. You know what I'm saying? I can't afford for 6, 7 kids. You know what I'm saying? So do I have to throw away my lifelong dream of having my own biological kids because you came in with 3 or 4 already? Because you made bad dating decisions in your past and picked wrong? No, not going to do that. And then multiple young children. We already brought up, do they have the same dad or not? Let's assume they have the same dad, because if they don't have the same dad and they're young, then this is a reckless woman. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to date you because of that. You got a 2, 3, and a 4-year-old by 3 different dudes, but you want to give me a 90-day rule. If you don't get out of here, you know what I'm saying?
You better get out of here.
Now you done found God before I date you. When anybody could get it back in the day now. But yeah, with multiple young, that kind of makes me think if the father's still alive, that there's an instinct that you might want to get back with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, the relationship is not that old. The kids are 13, 14, and 16. Then you've not been with the father for over a decade or whatnot. And then maybe, I guess. But if they're young, then that relationship is kind of too new. So I wouldn't want to do that.
What is he thinking? You are now listening to the podcast that has the answers you need for your love life to succeed. This is
What Is He Thinking?
As a single person, and let's say you're single and childless yourself, could you seriously date and marry a woman with multiple young children at your current point in life, at this point in life, our current age, or could you when you were 25? Either one. So could you date and marry a woman? Could you take a woman seriously if she had multiple young children at this point in life when we're knocking on 40 or over the age of 40, or back when you were fresh out of college?
Disclaimer. This podcast is more interested in telling you the truth than telling you what you want to hear just to make you feel good. If you want to grow, you're listening to the right show.
JT, what do you think?
I got to be first with this one. All right. At my big age, multiple young children stuff. And I say that not because of the kids. For me, it's more as a father still around, right? Because, like, a father will always be part of her life. I mean, if he chooses to be involved with the kids, right? So I got to factor that in as an extra part of any relationship I'm going to have with her. You know, kids are fine. And then I guess to take it further, how many fathers are we talking about? You know, she have 2 or 3 kids with one ex? Is it 3 different baby daddies? Like, that's a whole,
there you go.
A whole different piece.
Is it an ex-husband? Is it a one-night stand?
Is it 3?
Yeah. So those are all factors for me. But if it was just about the kids, I think I have a different appreciation for children. And if they're young, you can kind of, not to be weird, you can kind of make your imprint on kind of raising them versus teenagers or something. So that part of it could be doable. That woman has to be phenomenal because, like, that's the extra baggage you got to add to that relationship. But
phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reyes, what do you think?
Well, I'm just like JT. I do need just a little bit more context. You know, we're talking about you got 3 kids by 3 different dads. So am I going to have to deal with each one of those guys? Are they still alive? You know what I mean? But the main part that got me, like, at age 40, no, I couldn't date it. At age 25, I might be able to. And the main thing is the young part. At age 40, I know what it's like when you got to deal with a young child. So we just say if it's a toddler or they're still wearing diapers and stuff like that. I just don't want to go through that stuff again. You know what I mean? Like, not saying that it's great, but at 40, I just can't do it. I don't want to do it. I'm not saying that the children ain't wonderful or anything like that, but if they're teenagers, yeah, it wouldn't bother me as much, I guess to say. But yeah, I would need just a tad bit more context to that question. If 3 different guys didn't want you, or if 3 different guys dipped out on you, you know.
Deuces.
What is wrong with you is almost what I got to start getting. I guess I'm trying to get around to.
Yeah.
I'll say, God forbid I quote some bad people, but how young we talking, right?
How young we talking?
Like, how
I heard
young are
age is
these
nothing but
kids?
a number. Anyway.
No, my main thought here is, I think going back to the question, how I read the question is, if I was single and I am this age with no kids at this point in my life, almost 40, I probably assume I don't even want kids at this point, right? So that may be on my criteria with the woman. Like, hey, if I'm trying to be in the dating pool, I likely at this age don't want to have kids and start to, that stage of my life at this age. The other thing too was just thinking about it. If, let's say, I met this woman, we really hit it off, and then I grew into the relationship and then met the kids. At that point, I'm invested in the relationship. Me and the woman have built something. I want to continue. Then there's a possibility. But for the most part, it would not be in my criteria to be looking for a lady with young kids. I won't pile on the points JT and Reyes already made about the man still going to be present some way, somehow, whether physically being there or emotionally. Every time she looks at these kids, she's going to have a reminder of this other guy, right? So that's going to be a presence.
Looks just like their ex. You know what I'm saying?
Acts just like him, reminders every day, everywhere. So I would say it would not be my first choice. I would say, looking back, I'd say 25-year-old Carl. Would I be more willing? I'd say probably, like the other gentleman said, it all depends on where we are in the relationship. But I think at 40, I would assume that if I was single to this point, nothing wrong with me, no kids. I'm not trying to jump in there in that stage with somebody else's kids.
But the flip side to that is, like, say you are 40 years old and that you always wanted kids. You just never had the chance to, or really found the right woman. And then you meet this chick, who already has kids. Would you be more prone to date her? Because you'd be like, man, I'm 40 years old. I always wanted kids. She has kids. So would you be more prone to be like, let me try this?
I'd say nothing's absolute, right? It depends on the dads, but nothing's absolute. Like, you said, you can fall in love with these kids and be like, okay, hey, I could overlook whatever inconveniences in my life about, the baby daddy couldn't come pick them up or whatever. And I think the main point here is the connection I made with the woman, right? I think that my primary person I'm looking for going into a relationship is the woman, right? So if the kids are a byproduct of that and it's something I could live with just based on how things have gone, then yeah, maybe. But my thought, just being honest with y'all, just being real, I would not be excited about raising somebody else's kids, just being truthful.
No, you don't even have to apologize for that.
Yeah,
I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah. We're on the same page. I just thought about it from a financial standpoint. Like, we know dating is expensive. Realize I'm going to incur costs by dating. But now if I have like 4 people, that's a whole different budget that I'm now having to deal with. And if I want a long term, now I'm concerned about their future, and we got to go to practice, and we got to do this, and we got to talk about college. Like,
right. You just added 4 people. You just blew your budget out the water.
Need a second job. I mean,
yeah. So I guess it ain't gonna matter since the kids are there. If you're working your second job, you're never gonna see them. So
Yeah, you're the benefactor. You're the sponsor. Yeah, you show up on Saturday for 3 hours and you're gone the rest of the time. Oh, Alexander B. Could you seriously date and marry a woman with multiple young children? No.
Here we go.
No, I could not. But first of all, multiple sounds like multiple. It doesn't sound like 1 or 2. It sounds like at least 3. Is that a fair assumption, fellas? Multiple sounds like at least 3.
That's the assumption I made.
So if there are multiple young, no, for multiple reasons. 1, I myself want to have multiple children. So if I'm with a woman that already has multiple children, I got a decent job, but I'm not the CEO of Microsoft. You know what I'm saying? I can't afford for 6, 7 kids. You know what I'm saying? So do I have to throw away my lifelong dream of having my own biological kids because you came in with 3 or 4 already? Because you made bad dating decisions in your past and picked wrong? No, not going to do that. And then multiple young children. We already brought up, do they have the same dad or not? Let's assume they have the same dad, because if they don't have the same dad and they're young, then this is a reckless woman. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to date you because of that. You got a 2, 3, and a 4-year-old by 3 different dudes, but you want to give me a 90-day rule. If you don't get out of here, you know what I'm saying? You better get out of here. Now you done found God before I date you. When anybody could get it back in the day now. But yeah, with multiple young, that kind of makes me think, if the father's still alive, that there's an instinct that you might want to get back with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, the relationship is not that old. The kids are 13, 14, and 16. then you not been with the father for over a decade or whatnot, then maybe, I guess. But if they're young, then that relationship is kind of too new. So I wouldn't want to do that. You guys talked about number of fathers and in wedlock, out of wedlock, things of that nature. And relationships are hard enough. I'm not trying to volunteer for more complications. You know what I mean? So, no.
And that's what it is.
Seriously can't date a woman with multiple young children at any point in my life. My rule was, first, I didn't date. Of course, I'm married now, but back when I was dating and whatnot, didn't date women with children at all. Then I kind of amended that to, I'm okay with one kid. But then after doing that for about 3 or 4 years, I kind of went back to 0 because it's a gigantic headache. Like planning a date is equivalent to planning a space shuttle launch. You know what I'm saying? There's so many moving parts. You got to make sure the babysitter, like my love life is dependent on the whims of a babysitter. What is that about? You know what I'm saying? You got to make sure the babysitter's available, the kid's not sick. How long are you going to date the woman until you're going to start paying the babysitter instead of she's paying the babysitter? That's more expenses. Right. You know what I mean?
Like, why are we going to Burger King with coupons? Because I had to pay for the babysitter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, you want to go to Chez Franzé, but instead, hot pockets. That's what we had to eat. You know what I'm saying? Don't call me cheap. I had to pay for this babysitter. You feel me? So, just a lot of complications. So I'm not saying that women who are single and have multiple young children are inherently bad, but in general, men are not jumping over the moon to try to date you seriously. Now, there are some men that will, she obviously puts out, so let me get in line so I can get my turn on the ride. You know what I'm saying? You'll definitely have them type of men, but you definitely want to avoid them.
But that's the advertisement you put out. You got 3 kids, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, so it's obviously you are screwing.
Let's take the Nick Cannons out of the equation, right? Like, that's
all
cool.
right, Future. All right.
But you got the Antonio Cromarties of the world too. Like the flip side, I wouldn't do that either. Like if I was a woman, I'm not trying to date a dude with multiple kids. I think it goes both ways. Like, right, that would make me pause.
I hear you on that.
That one too.
And that leads us into the next question on our docket.